You're listening to the baddest show on the planet. Get your money right, get your game right, and everything in between. This is the Bad Hombre Podcast.
Stand up.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Where's that Moff coming from? Just your last name?
My last name's Moffat, so just people can call me Moff for 15 years, just for short.
How did you meet Rich?
So I met Rich through, personally, like after joining this community. I mean, my story is not unlike many others where guys go through a breakup or a divorce. Mine wasn't a breakup. And men go looking for answers, and men are problem solvers, and they go and try to figure out what they did wrong. And I had a string of some bad relationships in my 20s, and I said, look, something's got to give. I don't know what's going on, but the same thing sort of keeps happening. And in my particular case with my most recent ex, she had some pretty significant, daddy issues, abandonment issues from her biological father. And so I was typing, I was watching a lot of YouTube. I was in New York during the pandemic, so it's really all I was watching.
Yeah.
And I searched, how to be a better boyfriend to a girl with daddy issues, or how do I deal with a girl that's got daddy issues? And then one of the first videos that popped up was Rich's video on 3 types of women not to date, and where he talks about women with daddy issues. Yeah. And I clicked on that, and then everything just clicked. And then I was just like, I had never heard anything like that before. And I started going down the rabbit hole, watching his content for a couple of months. And then I called into one of his before. This is back when he was doing, even before the book came out, or right after the book came out. But this is before the Unplugged Alpha was a channel or podcast. He was doing his Monday night show with Sean Smith before the train wreck.
Yeah.
So I called into one of his before the train wrecks, but he didn't have Sean on at that point. He had Aaron Clary on. And I was like, yeah, man, I'm going through some one-itis. I'm going through some issues. I don't have a lot of people to talk about with this. I don't have a lot of close buddies that are in town. They've all sort of moved away, or I kind of pushed them away after focusing too much on a relationship. Like, I don't know what the hell to do. Yeah. And he said, join my community. We've got guys all over the world. We've got guys that like the content. I can tell that you're looking to learn and be better. And I joined it that night. And so we've just been building a relationship ever since. I got into the community, and I just really started doing the things that he suggested and putting in the work that he said I should put in. And it's been a wild ride over the last, I've been in the community now for 4 years. And it's been wild. And now I have, much more responsibility. I'm pretty much the head of the Unplugged Alpha community ecosystem as a whole, which is the 1%. There's the Unplugged Brotherhood, the School of Entrepreneurship, and the School of Unplugging. So it's been wild. But we're really close, and he's a really solid guy.
Yeah, it looks like he took you under his wing, basically, and I can tell he likes you and he respects you a lot. He probably sees a lot of his younger self in you, because I see that he actually cares, which is cool. It's cool. And talk to me about your moment when you started seeing all these red pill videos and you're going down the rabbit hole. Were you angry with women? Did you have rage?
It was over really quickly. I did it first, and it was mostly I was just mad at myself. I wasn't mad at women. I wasn't mad at it doesn't make any sense to be mad at the sky for being blue, or for water for being wet, or for the sun for being hot. So when I was able to, I was actually more mad when I was plugged in, when I was blue pilled, because like every guy's like, I can't believe she would do this to me. We've been together for 2.5 years. We had the whole plan. We were going to get married and have kids and buy a house and do all this sort of stuff. And she could just, turn on a dime, and one day she's in love with me, and the next day she wants nothing to do with me, and she's indifferent towards me. So I was much more mad then, because I didn't understand why things were going this way. And when I learned the material and I started going through the books and I started going through the YouTube channel, I was like, oh, okay, now this is all starting to make sense. This is all starting to come together. So I got I was more mad before. I never really had a full-on rage phase. If I did, it was really quick, but I was just like, okay, cool. Like, I can't be mad at somebody for just being what they are. I can't be mad at women for being women, and I can't be mad at my ex for just doing what, women do naturally. So, So yeah, it was right back into the dating pool, and I was just ready to, start that sort of new chapter. But no, I wouldn't say I had much of a rage phase. It was, the truth will set you free if you let it. And that's what happened to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, I did have a bit of a rage phase,
Yeah.
but I also, because you're going through the stages of grief, and I was engaged, and the whole thing. I thought we're gonna the one night. I thought she was the one, and um, and my mistake is that you learn all these things, and you think, hey, I'm not beta anymore. I've been enlightened, so I'm gonna be the man you want.
Yeah.
So I was trying to negotiate sexual desire with her because I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I learned all these things. I will stand up to you now. I will put you in your place when I have to. I'm not going to be passive aggressive. The no more Mr. Nice Guy. Like, I went through all the books as well. Obviously, that doesn't work. An embarrassing thing that I did, bro. listen to how stupid men are. I'm so stupid. Well, you're the first person I'm ever telling this to. So Rich had a tactical soap, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I bought it, and I'm thinking, okay, fuck, this is my time. We're getting rid of the house, selling the house. So we go to the real estate place, and I'm like, I'm gonna put on that soap and sit next to her. This is my last attempt at getting her back. This is how so I wasn't fully unplugged. I just had knowledge. But yeah, I did that like an idiot. Obviously, it didn't work.
Yeah.
But it did make me obviously way better at navigating relationships. I've had then meaningful relationships. I do find that it's hard to love the same again, but it's different, to love blindly when you're in that blue pill world. To love like that, it kind of feels good, but it's kind of fake too, right? Do you find
Yeah.
that you're not going to have that same kind of like love, like ignorant love?
No, you can't. Yeah, you can, because that's the same feelings of love and euphoria that you get, that puppy dog love, I like to call it, like young teen love, right? The same feelings that you get, and that might feel really great and that might seem awesome, but it's those same feelings that will blind you to women's true nature, and they will blind you to the harsh reality of what you can go through if you don't do the right things as a man in a relationship. So yeah, that's one of the things that is really unsettling for a lot of guys that unplug from the comfortable lies. They go, well, am I ever going to feel in love again? And sometimes I got to go, yeah, man, this is going to be as good as it gets. Actually, Dr. Orion Taraban talks about this. He talks about, in every relationship, there's the adorer and there's the adoree. And for most men, for relationships to really work, there's never going to be two people, a man and woman, that love each other the exact same amount. There's pretty much always going to be somebody who is that is more invested in the relationship than the other. And for a relationship to really work, in my opinion, and this is what the doc talks about as well, the man must be the adoree and the woman must be the adorer. She must be more invested into him and into the relationship, because that's also how women are naturally hardwired. Like hypergamy, settling down with the best possible or the most high value man she can get and have children with, is women's natural dating and mating strategy. And if in what modern movies and rom-coms and sitcoms and all of these mainstream sources will tell you, is that the man fawns over the woman and she's the leader, and he's just this bumbling, stumbling idiot who wouldn't know his asshole from his elbow unless he had a strong woman to guide him. Yeah. And she's just so amazing and he should kiss the ground she walks on. But that's the kind of guy that women don't have respect for. That's the kind of guy that women walk all over, that are doormats and don't get respect. And so what men have to really reconcile is that the woman that you'll probably end up with, have kids with, have a family with, if that's your deal, you're probably not going to be head over heels puppy dog in love with her. It's far better if she's head over heels puppy dog in love with you, and you look at her as, this is a great woman who I want to have children with and raise kids with. And I think that's should be good enough for most men if they understand the reality. But yeah, they have to come to grips with the fact that they're not going to have that serotonin, oxytocin shotgun blast where the woman just can do no wrong and he's head over heels puppy dog in love. Like, that doesn't exist for an unplugged man, and it can't exist and give you a successful relationship at the same time.
when I was going through my face, just how you called Rich on before the train wreck, I think. I called Donovan Sharp.
Okay.
This was during just before the lockdown, actually, like 2019. I called him. I don't know if you know who that is, but it's also like a very popular streamer.
I know Donovan, but I never really got familiar with a lot of his stuff. I got into the game a little bit later. Like I didn't find Rich's stuff until late 2020, early 21.
Okay. One of the things that Donovan told me was the best relationship you'll ever have is with a girl. Is not going to be with the girl you love the most.
Right.
And
pretty much.
It's bitter, very bittersweet to swallow because you want to have the best relationship with the girl you love the most. But it's you can't have those two things. And Richard said on my podcast that with women, you either love them or you understand them. You just can't do both. And I think those are it's hard.
Or you can't really love a woman until you understand them. So it's really hard to do that. But it's difficult because there's a lot of unflattering truths about women that people don't want to talk about and people don't want to admit. And I don't think there's anything inherently good or bad about women. Like women aren't inherently good or bad. They just are. They just exist. And so they're only these things that people consider good or bad because they are contradictory to what we were taught or raised to be good or bad. The idea that women are going to stick around through thick and thin, and no matter what, no matter how fat you get, no matter how many jobs you lose or how broke you are, or whatever that might be, that she should just love you for who you are because you're a great guy or you're a nice dude or whatever it is. And that's what a lot of guys are sold growing up. And then they realize actually that's not the case at all. And it's purely a biological thing. It's not a conscious thing where women, are these ruthless creatures, but subconsciously, but they are subconsciously ruthless when it comes to picking men for sure.
One other thing I notice, just observing women I don't know if you've experienced this. I don't know how your dating life is, or if you've been on the other side of her hypergamy, where you're the other guy or you're the guy they monkey branch to. I mean, the only way to keep them loyal is if you're the best they can have. But one of the things I learned from their behavior is they're always operating from a frame of survival. Everything they do is from a frame of survival. So it's always ruthless. It's cold. It's just them to exist and longevity. And when you look at it like that, it's like, okay, so maybe they don't see me as the most optimal partner. And I just heard Andrew Tate actually talking to, I don't know if he was PBD or the Nelk Boys, but he does say that the woman you date are a mirror of who you are. So the more high value you are, the more high value the woman you're going to be. And it's very true. I mean, even the way the algorithms are set up with your ELO scores on Tinder and Hinge and all that, you get shown women that kind of match your status, your value, right? And it's a sad reality. So that's why one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is you can't do this alone. Right. And so where do you find these people, right? So thank God now that we have communities like the one you're running that would find you with people, like-minded people all over the world. Because before it was, where would you find people like this? It would be at the gym. Martial arts is a great place to go. But again, everybody's in a different state of mind, where at least in these communities, we're also sort of kind of like in the same page. And there's people that have walked, there's people whose past look like the future you want, like Richard, for example, right? And they're there, kind of guiding you along the way and fast tracking your progress. But I kind of wanted you to touch base on how important it is for any man to be involved in any type of these communities out there, especially like the Unplugged community that you have.
One of the biggest issues plaguing modern men is that the vast majority of them lack a tribe of other virtuous, trustworthy, masculine men who gather for the sole purpose of improving themselves and their lives on a daily basis. Most men simply float through space, working a dead-end job, only to go home to a nagging wife or girlfriend that doesn't respect them. Their friend circles are nothing but fat, low testosterone losers who are more concerned with what sports teams are playing this weekend than what bar they're going to watch the game at. If these men are lucky enough to unplug from the comforting lies that modern society sells them and decide they want more out of life, they look around and realize they need to get into a better room. That's where a private community of men chasing excellence comes in. The men in our community have all committed to being the best versions of themselves that they can possibly be. They willingly run toward challenges, knowing that pushing themselves out of their comfort zones is the key to unlocking their true potential as men. If you're ready to take control of your life back and curate a network of successful and knowledgeable men, now is the time to seize the opportunity.
We are tribal creatures and we are social animals, and men have always needed a tribe, and men have always been surrounded by other men. And it's only until very recently that men have become, isolated. And part of this is, I tell guys this all the time, especially when guys are applying for the community and they are, and because the majority of the interactions, not the most important ones, but the majority of interactions you have with people now are going to be online. Like, we're not having this podcast in the studio. We're on, we're recording, and we are, halfway across the world from each other. So but that's the kind of digitized world that we live in. So yeah, the majority of your interactions are going to take place on, the platform, or maybe a Signal group or Signal chats and things like that. But we make it a point to get together and do things in person, and we run, half a dozen plus retreats every single year. And there's events that we're doing where we're actually getting together. So we try not to lose that. But it's tremendously important. And, guys can go to their local martial arts gym, or they can go to car clubs, but it's extremely, extremely rare to find guys that are going to be not only interested in those types of things and self-improvement, but they're also going to be unplugged when it comes to women and dating and the way the world really works. I mean, you see how even some of the most successful men in the world, the richest guys in the world, are getting zeroed out by women that you're like, wow, like, I've met plenty of guys that run successful businesses or that are entrepreneurs that can run multi-million-dollar companies, but can't run their own house, and their wife or their girlfriend runs their show. And it's just, a lot of it is that plugged in right. Exactly.
His house can run the government.
So it's like a lot of that conditioning is just so deep rooted, and guys get red pilled by business, and they get, well, the government's trying to shut me down, or my competitors are trying to undercut me, and they're doing these shady tactics, but they don't see that the same thing can happen to them with women, but they just keep on trying, and they don't see that female nature for what it is. So men absolutely need other men. They need brotherhood. That's the biggest thing. They need brotherhood. They need other men that are going to test them, hold them accountable, help them grow. And that's the kind of environment that I try to create every day.
Yeah. And I think having those communities also help you look at your blind spots as well, because sometimes we get laser focused on just one thing, and you don't see your blind spots in other areas. For example, you talk about a successful guy who's killing it in business, but has blind spots in dating relationships. We also see a lot of fit people that are super broke because they have blind spots in business. So this kind of brings up your average on everything, right? This community.
Yeah. There's more to it for sure, but that's a good starting point, because what I've noticed is that as guys become more enveloped in the community and they get together more and they start to form real relationship and real bonds, new guys come in. Like, you're not, just because you pay the entry fee doesn't mean you are really part of what we're doing. I mean, you might pay the entry fee and now you get access to the platform and you can join and make your intro post. Hey guys, I'm XYZ. I just joined the other day. And guys are like, oh, cool, man. What's up? Welcome. But until you've gone out there and met guys and shook their hand, and you've been to an event where you're going to mentally and physically test yourself, and guys can see what you're made of. If you're a guy that's in shape and you're going to do what you say you're going to do, you've got a high level of integrity, and you can demonstrate that in real life. There's all of those things are at play. You don't just get to walk in the door and all of a sudden you're a part of the tribe. There are sort of inner circles within the inner circle. But one of the best ways, because guys ask me quite often, they say, well, okay, I've unplugged, I've read the book, I watched you guys on YouTube. How do I continue to make sure that I don't, or how can I make sure that I'm continuing to stay unplugged, that I don't risk slipping back into plugging into the matrix and believing in all the nonsense. And it really is joining a group of guys that are, because we talk about it a lot, and it's, we didn't come up with this quote, but you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you're spending your time around guys that are unplugged and you're having conversations around real topics and the way the world works, and you're not afraid to look over your shoulder because Becky in HR is eavesdropping into your conversation, ready to write you up, you're going to have, it's going to become more part of who you are in your daily interactions. If this is sort of something you do fly by night, where you spend most of your time around your drinking buddies or old college friends that are married and that are all asking for permission from their wives to do shit, then it's a high chance that you're going to slip back into those old habits and you're going to forget about the unplugged guys. So it's not just about, getting together and meeting new people. It's all about how do you keep yourself from slipping back into old habits and, back into your old ways.
When I started looking for things, it's because I was broken. Like I was just going through a hard time. Right. But I've met people that were successful and they just felt like something was missing and they joined a community. So which one of those two sort of gives you the most friction? Is it, or which one of those two scenarios sort of fall back into the old habits?
Well, I say the guys that give me the most friction are the guys that expect that their excuses matter. Right. If I am trying to hold guys to a certain standard, being in good shape, being able to speak correctly and confidently, being able to give a good presentation and have good speaking skills, being able to command a room, being able to do hard things and be athletically fit and mentally tough, there's a standard that I hold these guys to, right? And and if guys are if they're not doing that, and they think that I care about, and this goes for people in general, this doesn't go for just guys that join the group, because a lot of guys will DM me on Instagram or they'll email me and say, hey man, I really want to join, but this is a problem, or I can't join because this, and this. And they give me this big, long story that I'm supposed to, I don't care. Right. So I really don't. And what a lot of guys have to realize is that most people deep down don't care, but they'll lie to you and say they do. They don't care why the project isn't done. They just care that it's not done. They don't care why your payments are late. They just care that the payment is late. They don't care why you are not holding yourself to the high standard that they expect. They only care that you're not meeting that standard. And so I've shifted my perspective, and I've shifted sort of my leadership style away from trying to guide men and trying to teach them and have these moments to, that's not really what I'm trying to do here. Guys have to participate in their own rescue. And I don't handhold and I don't baby walk guys around the corner. And I say, you join this group, here's what's expected of you. I expect you to do that, or you're not going to be a part of what we're doing anymore. And so the friction is really guys that are just, they are looking for ways out or looking for reasons not to do it. And they think that I'll just accept that and be like, oh, okay, you're tired, man. No problem. Oh, you want to prioritize other things. Like, oh, that's cool. Like, oh, you don't want to pay your annual dues because you want to spend your money elsewhere. Oh, cool, man. I'll just give it to you for free. No. So that's the basis of the friction. And I reference this quite often. There's a quote or a interview that Coach Nick Saban, he's retired now, but he was Alabama head coach for a long time, college football. He did an interview with 60 Minutes, and the reporter asked him something along the lines of, well, why are you so tough on your players? Like, why are you such a hard ass? And he responded, well, it's not really the right way to look at it, because look, high achievers don't like mediocre people, and mediocre people don't like high achievers. And if you can't get everybody on the same page and you can't get anyone to buy into what you're doing, I'm paraphrasing, but if you can't get everybody to buy into what you're doing, then how can you move forward in any sort of positive direction? You can't run a family that way. You can't run an organization that way. You can't run a brotherhood that way. You can't run a business that way. You have to have standards of conduct, and you have to have expectations that are being met. Otherwise, you really don't have anything at all.
Man, one of the worst things about the book, The Unplugged Alpha, probably the only thing I didn't like about the book, because I bought 6 of them. Okay. The worst thing, I bought 6 of those books. I loved it so much, and I gave it. The worst thing about that book is when I gave it to this guy who totally needed the book. I'm like, here's you go, but just read that. Stop coming to me asking me for advice because you see me with a hot girl, whatever. Here's the book. Read it. Everything is there. And he came back I went to the office the next day and the book was in my office. The worst thing about that book is when you give it to somebody and they don't read it and they don't take action. So you're like, oh man, so you can only help those people that want to be helped.
I mean, a lot of guys it's one of the things that most guys do when they unplug. They want to go tell all their friends and they want to say, hey man, I've discovered all of these amazing secrets and this will really help you in your life, just like it's helped me. And almost nobody wants to hear it. Everybody thinks you're crazy. They think you're a misogynist, think you've gone off the deep end. They're like, what is this unplugging from the Matrix? What do you think? You're living in a video game? They'll find any way to shame you that they can. So, and a lot of people that ask for advice, that's why I don't think anybody should give their time away for free. I don't think anybody should. There's got to be some sort of mutual exchange of value, right? That's why I do coaching. I don't do a ton of coaching calls, but a lot of times I've been doing it for a couple of years. And a lot of times what I've noticed is that guys aren't coming to me, or anybody for that matter, and looking for what to do. They really want to reaffirm their decision and get you to sign off on what they want. So if a guy will come to me and say, hey man, like I'm thinking about wifing this girl up and she's got 4 baby daddies and 4 kids from each one of them. And, she's got a history of drugs and alcohol abuse and she kind of does cocaine on the side. Should I marry her? And I go, dude, absolutely not. You're an idiot. Like you're going to fuck your life up. What are you doing? And then he goes and does it anyway. He's not looking for his real advice. He just wants me to say like, yeah, man, do it. Totally. Great idea. Great advice. And then when I do it, then it doesn't work out. He can turn around and say, well, Moff told me to do it. It's like, it's not going to work on me, bro. So that's why it's like, there's very few guys out there that will listen to the advice that I tell them. And like I said, that's why I don't really take the coaching or the imparting wisdom route, even in my community a lot of times now, because guys are generally going to do what they're going to do. And I'm not going to waste my time on people that aren't going to abide by the standards that I set.
Yeah. I write things down as they come just so I don't forget them, but I wrote permission because a lot of times we come and ask you for permission, right?
All the time.
I did a podcast with Rich and there was a guy, I got a bunch of DMs and one of them was, hey, I'm dating a girl, but she's got a sugar daddy or something like that, or she's on seeking arrangement. But, she doesn't meet the guy, so whatever, is that okay? What do you think? And I'm like, you're just asking for permission. I mean, you can date whatever you want. And if you like
those
the
guys
girl,
know the answer.
They know the answer.
They know the answer.
They just want your approval. They want your permission. They want you to give them the green light. And you're like, no. And then, and you can see they unblock you when you tell them what you're supposed to say, and they delete you. So where does all your discipline come from? Like, are you military background or you just very strong?
No, man, I get that a lot, but I'm not. But there's a lot of vets in the community, and I've befriended a lot of vets through the types of events that we run. So we just got back this past weekend from a big, I wouldn't say big, but a significant event here in Florida where I took 11 or 12 guys to this I don't know what to kind of call it, this compound, the Deep Woods Ranch just outside of DeLand, Florida, where a friend of mine and former SEAL Team 10 guy, former Navy SEAL. I don't know if they say former, but Navy SEAL, went through BUD/S, did the whole thing. Very, very well put together guy. Runs a team of guys that train firearms, and we were running and gunning. I mean, we were doing the obstacle course. We were up doing morning workouts. We were running. We were doing shoot house stuff. So close quarters combat, CQC or CQB, sometimes it's referenced. So clearing rooms, learning how to defend hallways, learning how to clear your house if you ever needed to, if there's an intruder, and protect your kids or your valuables. And so we do work with a lot of like military folks and former military, because they just kind of see what we're trying to do. And the way even we sort of structure our command is sort of similar to the military adjacent, chain of command. We believe in that. I believe in having one guy at the top, and then I've got my generals or my lieutenants, sort of my board of advisors. It's like, hey man, I think we should institute this change. What do you guys think? And I kind of throw it up to them and we chop it up amongst ourselves. And they go, okay, cool. Like if everybody thinks it's the right call, then I'll go ahead and do that. Sometimes I'm like, hey man, I need you guys to check and make sure I don't have a blind spot here and that there's nothing that I'm missing. And they go, hey man, yeah, I don't know if that's necessarily a good call. I think maybe you should rethink that. And I think that's really important for anybody in a leadership position, is to install people that you trust and a board of those advisors that not only care about the community, but will give it to you raw and honest enough that your ego gets checked and you're not going to let that get in the way. So not former military, but work with a lot of guys in the military or former military, a lot of former military guys in the group. You know, talking to one of the closer guys I have in the group with me is former Army. I think he did 4 or 5 tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. And I think he only got out of the Army 2 or 3 years ago. And I asked him, how many of your ex-military buddies are you searched with? He goes, none of them. And these are guys that spent every waking moment together for years, training, going through boot camp, being on the platoon, being out there, being stationed, and you're hanging out and you're in the most you're in an extremely high pressure environment and you're doing hard things and you're training together. And literally like you would give your life for the man on either side of you. And then when guys leave the military, they don't have that tribe. They don't have that brotherhood. They don't have that squad anymore. So a lot of them just resort to going back and they find a chick to settle down with and they just become shells of themselves. And so we are not hey, if you're a former military, you should just join this group, because, you've got to be unplugged. You've got to kind of be along with what we're doing. I've noticed that and through conversations with buddies in the group as well, there's a lot of military guys that play Captain America, and they do the Captain Save-A-Ho thing, and they have this it's my job and my duty to protect women or all women, and they love to go wife up single moms, and they love to go, do a lot of this. It's my duty and it's my honor to protect and take care of other people, and they take that even into their dating and marriage life. So for me, I think it's just which part?
The need to be Captain Save-A-Ho, Captain America, like the God complex. My dad's like that, and I think I got some of those traits for him. And I had to sort of fight them off, because I thought I'm the best person. This girl without me will be dead. Like she can't survive without me, even though she's not adding into my life. Oh my God, I don't picture her without me, and it's just like this God complex, right? What do you think that is that from childhood, or is that just believe?
Well, specifically with the military guys, I think a lot of that gets bestowed on them right off the bat, right? I can't remember exactly how it goes. And if there's anybody watching this, I apologize, but I'm not a military, so I don't think I should have to know this off the top of my head. It's something like God, family, country, I think it is, or God, family, unit. So there's some sort of hierarchy where you are putting yourself last. Like, and look, it's noble. Like if you're going to go into overseas and you're going to put yourself into a combat situation. One of the guys we were training with, the guy's name is Nick Cush. He was an EOD in the SEAL teams, and he's actually under Jocko Willing's command, Task Unit Bruiser over there in the Battle of Ramadi, and super awesome guy. And we talked a little bit about, some of that stuff. And he's like, look, your first priority is not your own safety. It's the safety of your buddies and your squad guys around you. And I think there's something to be said there. You're trying to survive, but I think that carries even farther, and guys will put themselves into even more precarious situations that can really fuck their lives up. I think somebody asked me one time, what is your group about? What is your calling card? What is the idea, the credo? And I didn't have a really great answer for him, but the more I've thought about it, the more I tell guys, it's like, look, you don't owe anyone anything. There is no inherent contract that you have to protect people. You don't owe somebody your life. You don't owe somebody your protection inherently. That it's not just bestowed on you as a man. Your inherent existence as a man does not mean that you by default have to sacrifice or you have to work for 60 years to provide for people. Because the simple fact is, because you're a man and you're just a worker ant, and that's what you were bred and born and designed to do. If you choose to do those things, that's completely different. You can choose to put others before yourself. You can choose to be the protector and the provider. You can choose to give those things to other people. And sometimes those are the things you have to do if you want to get certain things from women, like respect, like have them having the hots for you. Like you've got to be the leader. You've got to be the man. You've got to work out and be in shape. You've got to be captivating, have high status, all these things we talk about. You don't have to do them inherently, but if you can choose to do those because you want the result. So, but where I get my discipline from, I think to go back to that question really quick, when I'm in a leadership position, I never ask the guys to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And if we're out there, we're running and gunning, and if I'm telling guys like, "Hey man, you need to make more money," then I better make some fucking money. Hey man, there's no excuse for you to be fat and out of shape, then I better make sure that I'm not fat and out of shape. If I tell guys you need to be a better leader in your relationships, and sometimes you just need to tell your girl to shut up, then I better be a good leader in my relationship and be able to walk the walk and do the things that I tell them that I'm going to do. And I think that's a good leader is somebody that actually does the things and embodies the things that he tells others to do. And so I really don't have a choice, because if if guys can't respect you, if they don't look at the work you do and think you're doing a good job, or you don't display a high enough level of competence, then why would anybody follow your direction? Why would anybody listen to what you have to say? If you're going to be a personal trainer, but you can't put down McDonald's and you're 300 pounds, why the hell would I listen to you? Why would I listen to a guy? Why would I listen to a woman give dating advice when she has no idea what it's like to be a man and has no idea the world we live in? So it falls in line with that.
Yeah. It's like you don't ask the barber if you need a haircut, kind of.
Yeah. Right.
I do have some limiting beliefs, and I think the way around, the way to fix your limiting beliefs is exposure therapy, right? Because I know for a fact, like if I go to this Tough Mudder like camps that you do, I will push myself to high, to the extreme, because my I do have those like that is the mental game. I don't think I can go through them. So it's just putting yourself in those situations, man. Like when you're at the roller coaster, the point of no return. That's what you have to do that in so many aspects of life, whether it's public speaking, whether it's cold approach, making the jump in that business, joining that group, doing that sparring session with that guy that keeps looking at you funny, because it's just all of those things, man. Like you have to exposure therapy. I just did improv class on Monday with a bunch of actors here in Ottawa, and it's just working on communication. And then I did a hard sparring session yesterday. I'm talking to you today. I'm banging out 3-4 videos on YouTube per week now. I was just at 800 subscribers in December, and I just put my head down, and I'm on almost 5,300 right now.
Wow.
So in 4 months, it took me like 8 years to get 800 in 4 months. Right? It's just funny how it works. Like you work so hard to get those monetized stipulations, like the 4,000 hours and the 1,000 subscribers, and then once you do the work, every video you put out would have got you monetized, because every video will get you the subscribers and the time and watch time. So it's all compounded. Everything that you do in life, man, it compounds if you stick with it, right? Your strength, your mental strength, your money. And I think there's something to it. And that's why we always go back to that community and that circle of friends that you have, and the 5 friends you hang out with, right?
Yeah.
Mental strength.
Yeah, it's like you've got to put your stuff through those things. You're never you're never going to be ready. I get so many guys when they'll DM me, or I sometimes will send out some DMs to guys that follow my stuff or interact with me. I'm like, hey man, like we're always looking for guys to join. Like, why don't we just jump on a call and see what makes sense? Oh, I don't think I'm ready to join. I'll do it when I'm ready. And I just go, what do you mean? What does that look like? Mm-hmm. And they never answer back because they don't know, because there's no such, they're making it up. Like, how can you possibly know if you're ready to do something that you've never done before? Right. So you really don't. You try to just do the best you can. But if you spend your whole life waiting for the perfect time or the right time to do something, your whole life is going to pass you by and you're never going to do it. There's just no such thing as the right time. Now, there could be times where you're like, hey man, if I'm 500 pounds and I haven't been able to get out of this chair for the last 2 years, and I probably shouldn't be signing up for any Tough Mudders, obviously. But within reason, there's people are holding themselves back mentally far more than their physical limitations will hold them back. And it's, I talked to a guy the other day who close friend of mine, one of my coaching clients, who actually had a really unfortunate situation where he was, falsely accused for assault, sexual assault about a year and some change ago. And thank God for him that he had the, recordings on his door and things were caught on camera and everything she said happened didn't happen. And it was all very clear. So it didn't go anywhere. But if without that video evidence, who knows what could have happened? And that was his first interaction with a woman in a very long time. And so, or since a divorce or a long-term breakup. So now that is now his idea of what interacting with women.
That's like his frame of reference.
That's his frame of reference. And so he's like, well, I'm just really going to focus really hard on the business. I'm too busy at work, so I can't even focus on girls. I'm like, dude, do you want to, I'm like, he's in his 40s. I'm like, you want to get married? I mean, well, not married. Like, you want to be in an LTR? You want to have kids? Yeah, I want to start a family. Well, time's not on your side. You're in your 40s. You're not in your 20s. And so what a guys will often do is they'll start believing in their own bullshit. Like, oh, I'm too busy, or I don't have time, or the women aren't good looking enough anyway. And you're just lying to yourself, man. And guys will put obstacles in their way artificially because they don't want to face the pain and they don't want to face the discomfort that actually putting themselves in the game will bring out of them. But if you're not putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and you're not getting out of your comfort zone, then you won't grow. And I use the example. So I've been training MMA on and off for a little over a decade. I took some long breaks in my 20s when I was in New York, and I finally started going back really routinely about a year ago now. And I trained private lessons with this guy down here, 2 or 3 times a week. And then I told him, I was like, look, man, like, I want to get in a fight. Like, set me up an amateur fight. Let's train for the next year. I want to step in the cage. I want to get uncomfortable. I just want to see what it's like. And I want to compete, and I want to see what I'm made of. And he goes, okay, well, then you need to start getting some more work. So, come to my wrestling class tomorrow at 11, and we'll start getting you in with some of the groups, and we'll get you more work. You need to be training 5-6 times a week, not 2-3 times a week. I said, cool. With 5 or 10 minutes left in class, we were going live wrestling, broke my ankle, snapped it, out for 12 weeks. That was the first group class that I had taken in years. And I remember going home and I was just thinking to myself, like, I got 12 weeks, I'm out, maybe 16 to 18 for the tendons to all heal and be back full strength. I don't want to do a fight anymore. I will not compete. I will not go back to any group classes because of my broken ankle. I missed 2 major meetups for the community. We had a Tough Mudder that I didn't get to participate in. We had a big Vegas meetup that I didn't get to be there for. I was in a walking boot for weeks. I was, had to go through the airport on a scooter. And I was like, man, I can't run this community from a wheelchair. Like, part of what we're doing is being active, and we're running and we're doing shit. And I said, no matter what, I'm not going to do this. And I realized, like, that's the likelihood that would happen again is almost zero. It's, and it's like, I was so scared to get back in there. I was timid to get back in there because all I could think of, like, I have a 100% chance of going into this class and my ankle breaking because that's my only frame of reference. And now I've been going back for a couple of months now, and it's been great. So I kind of told him that story, and I think he's, going to get back out on that horse. But that's a lot of guys, when they have those bad experiences, breakups and divorce and things like that, they can think the same thing. But yeah, if you're not putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and you're not pushing past where your comfort is, if we call it, my coach and I call it pushing that wall back. Whether it's progressive overload in the gym or it's getting your cardio up, your body is not going to adjust, and it's not going to acclimate to new levels of cardio or fitness if you're not pushing it past where it realizes, like, oh, wow, this dude, the brain is sending you signals like, dude, your lungs are crazy right now. They're burning. You have no oxygen. You need to stop. You need to slow down, and you don't listen to that voice and you push past it. Your body goes, okay, well, then we need to adjust because this guy's clearly not going to slow down. And now next week, now you can push a little further. Then you can push a little further. And all of a sudden, your capacity has gone from this to this. And that's what, but some guys are they want to avoid discomfort and pain so badly that they never do anything noteworthy or worthwhile.
It's because that also becomes your frame of reference. Pushing, the positive too, right? It works on both sides. So if you have you know what I mean, right?
Positive feedback loops. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. and you don't know that until you do that exposure therapy, right? So you talk about you're never ready. You know when you're ready when you're doing it. You know when you're doing improv and you're on stage and it's your time and everyone's looking at you, right? When you got some big guy on your podcast and your camera's on and you got to speak to them, right? That's when you know you're ready. When you're aspiring, when that goes on, that's
if you're afraid of spiders or if you're afraid of snakes, you know how we get you over that? We lock you in a room full of spiders and snakes, and then you freak out, you pass out, and you go comatose, and then you wake up and you pass out again because you're freaking out, and then you wake up a third time and you realize, like, okay, I'm not dying, I'm not going to get killed, I'm still terrified, but eventually, you know, you need to expose yourself to these things that scare you, and you realize that the worst thing that you fear, death, is not happening, and that's how you get through stuff. But people are so avoidant because they have that. It's fear of. It's fear of death. Everything we do is geared towards our own survival, and we're going against our survival programming to get better. But that's how you become harder, and that's how you become, you know, stronger in the end.
You talk about like people just having like your example that you mentioned with the person that had the one date after the divorce, and then he's like, "Nah, I just want to focus on my business." I think a lot of the MGTOW movement, it's sort of based on that sort of frame of mind where it's like, I just want to check off. I'm just checked out. I don't think this is for me, or is it a different belief?
Mm-hmm.
You think that's?
Yeah, I mean, Rich and I talk about that quite a bit. Like, I know he mentioned this on your show, and I agree with him, but I don't largely think that men are choosing to go their own way. I think they're sent their own way, and they're just saying they're choosing it because they can't get what they want. I don't know any men that are successful, that have game, that are financially well off, that are in good shape, that are just that like to be around women, that are good with women, that are choosing not to deal with women. The guys that will shit all over online dating were probably never successful with online dating in the first place. The guys that shit all over women probably can't get women in the first place. I noticed this in our Ladies Night podcast, and it's a lot of guys that will run to the comment section and say, "Oh my God, I wouldn't touch these women with a 10-foot pole, but they're fat tubs of shit and they don't bring anything to the table." And these women wouldn't even sneeze in their direction. Like, they would look right through them. So it's really easy. It's the idea of rejecting someone before they have a chance to reject you. And you see it all the time. And I don't try to pay much attention to it. I think it's largely doomer. And I've always said that if you are in a situation or you're running into multiple situations where you continue to get negative or poor results over and over, what's more likely? You know, you go on 100 dates and they're all bad and none of them call you back and they aren't interested in you. What's more likely, that you just went out with 100 women that have overinflated egos and they're all gold digging HWRES, or you've got some work to do?
Yeah, the latter.
It's probably the latter. So, and I think that's one of the best parts of being a man. That's something that I really internalized really quickly after my ex left and red pilled me. It was like, wait, if I want better results out of life, then all I have to do is get better and increase my value. Okay, easy. Yeah. I'll get in better shape. I'll make more money. I'll learn more skills. I'll become better at game. I'll read more books to learn things. It's like it's like guys that love these video games, and I know Tate talks about it. He's like, I don't play Grand Theft Auto. I live Grand Theft Auto. Like, you guys talk about leveling up your character and doing all of these things in this fake reality, in this fake world, but I'm doing all that stuff in the real world. And regardless, whatever you think about Andrew Tate, whether he's a trafficker or whether he's not, I don't have an opinion on that either way, but he's got some nuggets out there that I think are useful. 100%. But I do, I'm like, look, man, yeah, why, waste it's the same reason why it's like, don't waste your life building somebody else's dream, being an employee, like a 9-to-5 guy, a clock puncher, a grinder, right? Build your own dream, right? Yeah. You're just getting by the next day. So you can have 2 vacation days a year or 5 vacation days a year. So you can go out with your ungrateful wife and your shitty kids that don't appreciate you. That's most men's reality. And most guys will never really know about how good life can truly be. And don't get me wrong, We need those guys. Those guys
100%.
prop up our society. They maintain the infrastructure. Guys that are willing to get up at 2 a.m. to go bust their ass to fix roads, and the linemen down here in Florida that are repairing and making sure people have power after hurricanes. The world needs them, and certainly appreciate them. But there's success in the margins that a lot of those guys don't see and they don't get access to.
Just to wrap things up, man, talk to me about your take on the state of masculinity. I think I saw a clip of like a reel of Richard saying that it's declining, and I don't 100% agree with that. I think it's actually better, maybe not better compared to the 90s or the 2000s, but I do think it's better compared to like 2020, 2021. I am seeing a shift in the right direction, so I don't know if you agree with me on that one, or if you still think it's going down. I just see a lot of more like testosterone in these teenagers now, more like shitheads, which I like. They're annoying at the gym. They're annoying that fucking 5 of them are hacking the bench press machine. But I'm like, at the end of the day, they're good.
It could be somewhere else. They could be, doing drugs, off doing other stuff. Yeah, they could be playing video games, rotting away. Yeah, I think the pendulum is. I hope the pendulum is swinging in the other way. I think we're seeing it. There's still a lot of stuff that needs to be cleaned up. I mean, the damaging results of feminism have reverberated throughout our youth, and it's funny. We had a ladies' night podcast last night, and all the women, like 3 out of the 6 women, or 3 out of the 5 women we had on, were saying how they couldn't find masculine men to date, and men just want to be feminized and they want to go 50-50. Now, are women as feminine and as they are traditional as they were 30, 40 years ago? No, of course they're not. But I think that we are hopefully seeing the pendulum swing the other way. I think young men, they're not getting their news from CNN. They're not watching TV. They're watching Rogan. They're watching like Trump won the election because of podcasts. Like that's where people are getting. That's where people are getting their news. And people like Rogan who won't be swayed, and they go, "Dude, I'll have whoever I want to have on my show, and I'll say whoever I want. Yeah, I got $100 million deal, but I have pure creative freedom of whoever I want. And I want to say." Guys like Jake Shields out there that are having really unfiltered and unflattering conversations. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that we see more guys going into gyms. I'm hoping that we have more guys that are joining groups like mine. And that I think, I really think the way to fix this and get on the right path and correct this is we cannot take it easy on our enemies. We cannot show the people that tried to lock us in our homes, told us to wear masks, tell us that men can be women and women can be men. These people that sold us these carnival bananas ideas for the last 4 or 5 years, we cannot allow them to think they have any chance of the pendulum swinging back in the other direction. There's zero tolerance. There is no, we're all in this together. Like, these people are your enemy and they should be destroyed. But yeah, I'm hoping that we see some of this stuff. We're already seeing a lot of this stuff be eradicated from the public sphere, and there's a lot of work still to be done, but I think the future is bright.
Oh, this is what I was going to say. We're in the good men create, strong men create good times part of the circle. This is
I hope so.
Yeah, I feel like that's where it is. But when you talk about Latinos, like most of us are conservative because we've seen how bad it can get, from wokeism to socialism to things. So I think I talk a lot about this on my videos, where it's like, next time you vote for a Biden type of guy, or in 10 years AOC, okay, before you vote for her, go and spend a week in Venezuela, go to spend a month in Cuba, and after that, just see, because there's a reason they're escaping.
So dark, can't see a thing. I hear a song of the broken beat. Give me nickel, give me dime, give me dollar, I'll give